Hi from me, Jared Epstein, and welcome to another episode of Simcha, a celebration of life. It's so exciting learning more about what's happening in the Jewish communities around South Africa. So today, we chat to KZN Jewish community leader Sue Abro. We also find out what Jewish penicillin is. First up, we have a brand new segment in celebration of Women's Month. This month, we'll focus on Batya Bricker's book, Good Night Golda, a handbook for brave Jewish women. Today, Batya explains how the book came about and what her purpose was in publishing it.
It was Stephen King who said that books are a uniquely portable magic, and that was something that I lived during lockdown. Lockdown was a time of our worlds becoming smaller, uncertainty and despair at every corner. Hope was in very short supply. And so it's no surprise, because I've always turned to books for solace and entertainment and inspiration. So it was really no surprise that during lockdown, that's where I turned. I turned to the shelves for wonder, for escape, for refuge. The result was a book that I wrote called Good Night Golda, Brave and Mighty Jewish Woman, to inspire us all. This book was a 3-year project where I collaborated with 3 other women to explore incredible Jewish women through past and present who have done amazing things and who had changed their world. In so doing, changed ours. My collaborator, Ilana Stein, also interested in Jewish history and the contribution of Jewish women to the world, Ilana and I had many late-night conversations about the suitability of women, about including, excluding. We arm wrestled many names. We also discovered new ones that we were both so excited about and wanted to include. What I did was I traveled through space and time, obviously within the bounds of pages, and I met 32 amazing Jewish women from the past and the present, who have done extraordinary things, despite their circumstances, despite challenges, despite their skills or things they had or didn't have, and they achieved and left lessons in their wake. It was so inspiring to learn their stories, but then also to take some of those lessons and apply that to my life. So Good Night Golda was a compilation of those 32 women. We took great care to create a diverse range of women. So there are women from biblical times, like Esther and the daughters of Tzlofchad, till today. Ilana and I then worked with 2 illustrators, Renelle Pinar and Mary Ann van der Bijl. And they became very much part of this conversation. In the normal course of publishing a book, the script will be written, the text is written, and it's then given to illustrators to put pictures to the words. In this process, we worked in a kind of tennis match. I would put together information about a woman and why she inspired us. The illustrators would then take it and draw something that inspired them, and that in turn would then guide the way we would write the piece and how we would position the piece. We tried to look at achievement in all different areas of life. So there might have been sportswomen or artists or women who had made a lot of money or who had changed the world by getting water to people who didn't have access to water. Going on a journey always has an element of the expected. Wherever you're going, you know what to expect and you plan for that. So when you're looking for courageous Jewish women or examples of that, you find the people you expect to find. You expect to find Hannah Senesh, for example, Hannah Senesh, the iconic paratrooper and poet from the Second World War who saved so many Jewish lives. You expect to find Anne Frank, the diarist, the world-famous diarist, who captured the Holocaust through the eyes of a young girl and shared it for us and for the world. We discussed who should be in, who should be out, who deserves to be in, who should be in, but it's a bit uncomfortable to include her. There were many moments of delight along the way. So besides for the woman we expected to find, there were a whole range of women who we didn't know about. No one seemed to know about. And they had some incredibly exciting and amazing stories to tell. This was people like Pramila, the first Bollywood star who was Jewish, or Hedy Lamarr, the most beautiful woman in Europe who landed up inventing or becoming the mother of Wi-Fi. So there were people we didn't expect that were a great surprise. And of course, going on a journey means that you go on your own journey of questioning. What is important? What do you believe? What kind of world do you want to live in? It's really a journey of questioning yourself as much as finding other people's stories. So some of the questions we asked ourselves were things like, what is courage? Of course, courage is about saving lives or improving the lives of others or giving back to society, of course. But can courage be other things? And we decided that courage can also be fighting your own demons, your own self-doubt, having the courage to dream, the courage to imagine was as important. And that allowed us to include a whole range of Jewish women who had done amazing things because they had the courage to say, imagine if. An example is Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was the only woman in her lawyer class, and she was told she couldn't be a lawyer because she was a girl. And yet she imagined she could, and so she did. Or Donna Karan, who imagined a whole different way of dressing. And it's thanks to her that we've migrated from corsets and uncomfortable pencil skirts to comfortable, stylish clothes that we all love and enjoy wearing. So courage doesn't always rule. Courage comes in different guises, and it was a joy to discover that.
Sue Abro is the current president of the South African Jewish Board of Deputies KZN Council. We chat to this proud Durbanite about her Jewish roots and day-to-day life in the community.
I'm the first disabled president of the Durban Jewish community. I have a vision impairment, which is called retinitis pigmentosa, and I have no central vision. My peripheral vision is still quite good, but it is a disease that is progressive and one eventually loses one's vision altogether. I'm very grateful to have the team behind me that I do, both in my personal capacity and in my capacity as the president of the KZN Council. So I spend time at the Durban Jewish Club with the general manager of the Durban Jewish Club, and she is also the assistant to the board, and that's Liesl Patterson. And she assists me, I dictate, she types, and yeah, apart from that, it's all good. So I did not have a traditional Jewish upbringing, purely because we lived on farms most of our lives, in very small places, and most of my growing up was done in Zululand, about 2.5 hours up the road from here. I could not go to a Jewish day school because they don't have boarding facilities. So I grew up in a place called Melmoth. There were 2 Jewish families. I then had to go to boarding school for my secondary education, and I went to a place called Hilton near Maritzburg, and so I became involved with the Maritzburg Jewish community. So that's where I learned that I wanted to attend Orthodox synagogue. My parents ensured that we knew about our Jewish heritage, that we knew about all the holidays. We celebrated all the holidays either at home or with family elsewhere in the country, and we were aware of and very proud of our Jewish heritage. And then, of course, when I moved to Durban, when I did my LLB degree, I became involved in the community organizations, and that's where it went from there. The Durban Jewish community is an incredible community. They are very close, they're very close-knit, they're very welcoming, and I became involved in the Union of Jewish Women, WITSO, when I was young, and I subsequently became the honorary legal advisor, and I still am for both, because that's the fact is that we are a small community, and we're an aging community, and we're becoming a smaller community. But as the late John Michel used to say, we punch above our weight, and we always have. I think the reason why I believe the Durban Jewish community is so unique is because we have always been very involved not only in the Jewish community but in the greater community. And we have had, and we still have, families who are extraordinarily wealthy who continue to contribute not just to the KZN community but to the community in South Africa. And that is a unique quality. And we've had some extremely wonderful families who no longer live here but continue to contribute. So that's, and even though we are such a small community, we still are involved at every level. And the Union of Jewish Women is incredibly involved in the greater community. WITA is involved in the greater community from the point of view of the wheelchair project. The KNZC is involved with Project 10. So we have all of these incredible projects that go on all the time. And we don't necessarily make a big noise about it. We just get on and quietly do it. I am an attorney. I specialize in family law. I have been an attorney for over 30 years, if you can believe that, because I look so gorgeous. So before I became involved at this level in the Jewish community, I was very involved in the attorney's profession, and I was co-chair of the Law Society of South Africa in 2004/5. And so I've been involved there at a national and international level. I've acted as a judge of the High Court in Durban. So doing many things comes naturally. I've had my own practice since 1995, and I also run the community. So at the moment, mornings are dedicated to the practice, and then if I need to deal with the community issues, I come in the afternoons to the Jewish Club. I have always been someone who's been involved in extramural activities, and I was brought into the Jewish community, as I said, when I was young, and then onto the board by John Michel, and it just was a natural fit for me. I would say the people who have had the most impact on me in my role as president and in encouraging me to become a president are the late John Michel, Judge Maggid, and Jeremy Joyman, who's the immediate past president. The late John Michel had incredible faith in people, and he supported people. So I knew that I always had his support and could go to him for advice. He also taught everyone a lot about being a Jew, about being involved in charity at every level, and that also has an impact on one. Judge Maggid, I think one of my earliest trials was in front of Judge Maggid when he was still on the High Court, which was then the Supreme Court in Durban, and he brooked no nonsense. So he challenged us. He would bring a different point of view, and he was much more objective than we could be. So that's where he taught me. And then Jeremy Joyman, his strength is corporate governance and finances. So I learned a higher level of corporate governance from him, and I learned a lot about finance from him, and also about standing up for the people who matter. And you do that without fear or favor. During my very short time at the board, because I haven't even finished my first year, and I've been involved at the board where we've had COVID, we've had looting, and we've had flooding. So those are incredibly different things. I'm very proud that we've formed the crisis medical team, that we've established an incredible friendship with Richard Friedland, who's the CEO of Netcare, who is an amazing person in himself. We have fed the homeless. We have, and it's not accolades for me, it's the accolades for the community. I don't get accolades. So you know, I can get accolades in my personal capacity, but as a representative of the Jewish community, it's the Jewish community that's honoured. But you also need to understand that a great deal of the work we do is done anonymously. And that, of course, is the biggest mitzvah or good deed in the Jewish religion. And of course, we've got the Holocaust and Genocide Center that educates thousands of children every year and is involved in hate crimes work. And so the list goes on. I'm very proud of our Jewish community in Durban.
It's almost that time to say goodbye, but not before learning about good old chicken soup with Mani and Kelvin Jacobson.
Hi, I'm Mani, and this is my husband Kelvin, and today we're going to teach you how to make Jewish penicillin. And if you don't know what that is, you're going to find out. Our ingredients consist of chicken, garlic, tomatoes, onions, a carrot, and some celery. And don't forget your peppercorns. So, Jewish penicillin is chicken soup, good old-fashioned chicken soup. Kelvin is now going to start with the chicken, and then we're going to move on to the veg. Have a look. Jewish penicillin is chicken soup, and the reason why we say this is because all the goodness in this pot of soup is known to cure the common cold, broken hearts, bad reports from school, and all of those sorts of things. As well as nourish pregnant women.
We're doing chicken for dinner, actually, roast chicken. So we're actually just breaking it down for the bones. The bones is what's going to make up the soup, and obviously then the chicken for the roast. The fat and the skin is what makes the goodness in the soup. You'll see like we won't use any oil or anything to make the soup. We'll just render out some of the chicken fat before adding all the veggies and what have you. You can, of course, make soup just with the like soup powders and that kind of thing, but this is the better way. We're not going to add oil to the soup, we're just going to render out the fat from the chicken, so put the stove on like a medium heat, not too high. The fat and the skin all in. It's a slow thing that it comes up to, and we just add a bunch of salt to pull out the moisture. Okay, so we're going to start chopping the veggies in a minute. This we had to just get on early because it's not fast. It just takes a while to get all the fat out of the skin and out of the fat. You got to render it, you know. It's a slow process. Okay, so you can see it's just starting to pull out some of the fat at the moment.
So we're going to start with our garlic. I'm not going to cut it up, I'm just going to smash it and put it in whole, just like that. Next we'll do our tomatoes. That's the tomatoes in. Next I'll do the carrot, which we're just going to cut into chunky blocks. Next I'm going to put the celery in, also cutting it up chunky. The reason why we do it chunky is because we want to make a clear soup. So this will make it easy for the ingredients to be drained once we are ready with our stock. Second last is our onions. Once again, also chunky. Different people add different ingredients to their chicken soups. This, what we're doing here, is just a basic clear chicken soup. You can add noodles, you can add knedlach, which is a form of little balls, which are made of matzah. And then lastly, we're gonna put our peppercorns in. So I'm just gonna stir this up a little bit so that it can mix. And then I'm going to add the rest of our chicken carcass. Apparently, in Europe, many Jews actually favored raising their own chickens rather than pigs, and this is why chicken soup became so popular amongst the Jewish culture. So now that all of our ingredients are mixed up, what we're going to do is we're going to turn it up a little bit and we're going to put some water in the pot. So let's just turn that up a bit and get some warm water. So we want our water to cover all of our vegetables. If that means putting 2 jugs of water in or just 1, that's up to you. Because this is a stock-based soup that we're making, you can add more water or less water. The less water you add, the stronger the flavor will be, and you can also add water at a later stage. Stirring this pot reminds me of one of my favorite memories with chicken soup, and that is every Friday night dinner with my grandmother, and she makes chicken soup. We used to have a 3-course meal, very delectable, and she made the best chicken soup. My husband makes a good one, but my gran, no one can beat her. The longer your pot is able to boil and your stock is able to get all the flavor from those chicken bones, the better. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pop the lid on, and it's going to sit for 2 hours until we're ready to open it up. I better just check with Calvin that everything is good. Calvin, will you please come just quality control for me?
Yeah, it looks good so far.
Did you know, I actually have a fun fact to tell you. Did you know that even though chicken soup is very Jewish, it has apparently some origins in China?
China.
I didn't know that. And so now we're gonna just have a peek and see what our soup is looking like 2 hours later. It looks very tasty. You'll notice that while I was stirring it, there was no chicken bones. What I actually did at the end of the 2 hours, I removed the chicken carcass, and now we just have our clear soup with our vegetables. Just a little taster. Here, my love.
Okay. It looks good.
Careful, it's hot.
It smells good.
Tastes good.
Good job.
Last little fun fact, because I know you love my fun facts. The 12th century Jewish philosopher Maimonides, he actually claimed that chicken soup solves leprosy and asthma. And I mean, who knows if this is true? It sounds absurd, but you never know.
Maimonides made one of these.
A perfect starter to your Friday night dinner.
That brings us to the end of this week's episode of Simcha, a celebration of life. As always, we'd love to hear from you, so please send us a Facebook message at Spirit Sister Productions. From me, Jared Epstein, and the Simcha team, in the spirit of Women's Month, remember this from Anne Frank. In the long run, the sharpest weapon of all is kind and gentle spirit.